So, hi,
Yeah.
Dechu. Thanks again for joining us today.
Hi.
We're super excited to have you. Just a quick introduction to all our viewers on Dechu. Dechu is an excellent social worker, actually based in India, in Bangalore. She has a master's in social work from the University of Pittsburgh. She has a diploma in Montessori teaching. She has a BA in psychology, so she has the perfect mix that makes her incredible at what she does. And currently, most recently, she's been spending a lot of time with Ashraya, the NGO, as their honorary secretary, which specifically focuses on empowerment of children and women. And we'll talk a lot more about that, Dechu, in a minute. But you also are the president of University for Women based out of Bangalore, and you run 2 working women hostels as well. So everything that I see around your CV is to try and empower women and children. And besides what the elements that I talked about, she's also had senior roles in places like Nightingale, Sparsh, and she's also a visiting lecturer in multiple different universities. So thanks a lot, Dechu, for joining us today and spending some time and giving us a little bit more insight into Ashraya Foundation and what it's all about. So Dechu, let me start off by asking you a little bit about your journey. I know you've worked a lot around different NGOs. Help me understand, how did you get in the space and how has the experience been?
Well, when I was in my undergraduate, I was interested in psychology, and as part of our work, we visited a few, centers which worked with people, and that's when I decided that working with people is what I wanted to do. There were 2 ways to do it. You could either become a doctor or you could get into counseling. So that's what drove me to do the master's in social work. And got into child welfare actually by fluke, because my first job was with an organization that specialized in working with children, mainly orphans, and it was placement of the children in adoption. Right. So that's how I started, and then it grew from there. And I seem to have built my career around working for women and children. So basically, I prefer more hands-on work as opposed to academia. I could have gone on to studying more and maybe getting into teaching, etc. But I find that I feel more rewarded when I'm actually working with projects, starting something new and setting it up, or already joining a project that's working and helping to sustain it and make it grow. That seems to be more my area of interest. So basically, that's how it started. And Guild of Service was my first job. It's an agency in Hyderabad that worked for the girl child plus the adoption program. Then I moved on to starting an organization called Sparsh, but I had to give it up because there were various legality issues. Right. And I moved to Bangalore and joined Ashraya because the founder member of Ashraya, the late Nomita Chandy, was a good friend of mine. And she was keen that I joined so that they could become a second in line after her. And that's how I got into Ashraya.
Wonderful. Actually, that brings me to my next question. Can you give us a little bit more background to what Ashraya is about? I know it does specifically focus on women and children, but would love to get some color on specific projects that you are focused on.
So Ashraya basically means shelter. And the goal at that time was to provide, when it started, it's now 40 years old. We completed 40 years last year. It started in 1982. And the goal was basically to provide rehabilitation within a family structure in non-institutional settings. That is basically the goal for any child welfare project, because that's part of what the UN principles for the child mandates, that you should try and find as many non-institutional rehabilitation programs for children instead of institutionalizing them. So Ashraya also started by doing adoptions in 1982. There were 3 women, one late Rama Anand, late Nomita Chandy, and Shanti Chako. Shanti Chako is at present the president of the organization. She is 89 years old. And Nomita Chandy in 2011 was awarded the Padma Shri for her valuable work in social work. And this organization is basically a registered society, non-profit in nature, and has a managing committee of 7 members. And the objectives are to provide non-institutional solutions for underprivileged children through education and family support, and to socially and economically empower abused, destitute, and abandoned women. So these are the broad goals, and under these broad goals, projects are designed and started so that actually beneficiaries can benefit from it. So education basically empowers the child to change her life and subsequently changes the fortunes of the family. We have seen that through our project, the main NeelBagh school.
Right.
So what are the programs we have to achieve these objectives? One is the NeelBagh Rural School. The other is the Tara Women's Center. And the other is the community creches we run at 4 different locations in Bangalore. All our projects are in Karnataka and are run by providing all the services free for all the beneficiaries. So we run these creches or daycare centers for the underprivileged children, so that once the kids start coming to the creche, the mothers of these children can also start working.
Yes.
In India, one of the big issues is when they're underprivileged, they cannot afford daycare. So very often in the past, the older child would be kept back home to look after the younger children so that both parents can work to earn a living. And most of these are daily wage earners, not professional or skilled workers. They're all unskilled workers. So to help the mothers go back to work and allow the older child in the family to get an education, these creches are started so that even the younger kids can come to a creche and the mothers can then start going to work. Now at this creche or the daycare, we keep them there for the whole day. There are activities and learning which is introduced into their daily schedule. Also importantly, a nutritious meal is provided to the children every day. Nutrition again is a very compromised factor in the lives of the underprivileged children in India. Due to the limited income, a balanced diet is never given to these children. So we try to provide a balanced, nutritious meal every afternoon for the children who come to the creche. And the activities revolve around reading, writing, recognition, plus playtime, craft, art, and all these other extracurricular activities. So this is how basically the 4 creches are run. It is manned by a trained Anganwadi or Balwadi teacher with an assistant teacher and some helpers. The Tara Women's Center is a shelter again for women from underprivileged families who are facing domestic violence and need to have a shelter so that they can get back on their feet again. So we provide them accommodation for a period of 2 to 3 years, encourage them to go out and get jobs, monitor their savings, and our facility is built in such a way that there is provision for the women to keep their children with them. In many other places, if a woman goes for shelter, the children are taken away and kept in another children's home. Here, the children can stay with the mother. And there are staff there round the clock. So even if the kids are very small and left at the center while the mother goes to work, the kids will be taken care of. And after about 2 to 3 years, we discharge the women because they are then more have better self-confidence, better self-esteem, and financially have had some level of savings. Because we insist that we monitor their passbooks and insist that they save. So we monitor that very closely. We also try to help them to get all their paperwork in order in case they don't have anything. Birth certificates for children, Aadhaar cards, all the kind of documentation one needs to survive. Either they would have left them behind or would have been neglected by their families to get it for them. So we try to get them all those things that they can establish themselves and live independently. So this is what Tara Women's Center does.
Super inspiring, and the way you're targeting and focusing on the different elements of empowering these women and empowering the families by providing, such dedicated and such well-detailed thinking around what are the different elements of a woman who's going through an abusive relationship to get back on her feet. You're taking care of all elements, right from the fact that you want them to save, have their children right there with them, things that would otherwise compromise their ability to get back on their feet. It's so well thought through. It's just amazing. It's really inspiring to hear that. Let's dive right into NeelBagh. I know we have a huge, very excited trip planned for all our viewers and members at Mishti to go visit NeelBagh School. Please give us a little bit more color into what happens at NeelBagh School. How is it set up, and what to expect once you're there.
So NeelBagh School is actually an offshoot of an original project that Ashraya had. In the early 90s in Bangalore, there were a number of builders who had come from Bombay and were doing multi-story construction in Bangalore for the first time. Apartment construction was quite unknown to Bangalore's history in the past, as Abhinav would know. So when these builders came in, we used to get a lot of construction workers coming from North Karnataka to work on these projects. So they would come with their families, and there would be many children playing on the construction sites with no proper nutrition, no proper facilities. So Ashraya then decided to do something for those children. So they set up construction site creches. They would coordinate with the builder and ask the builder to give them a room on the construction site. And the builder had to give the room and electricity and water connection. And Ashraya would provide the staff, and the kids were all put into a creche at the site. And creche kind of activities were started, and a midday meal was provided for these children. But when the construction was completed, the entire construction community would disband. And Ashraya would pull out because there was no more need for a construction site creche.
Right.
So Ashraya noticed this happening at different, we had a number of site creches at that time. And one of the things that happened is education for these children got compromised. Right. Because the families would scatter, not the entire family would not move to the next site together. So there was a lot of disruption in the education for the children. So at that time, Nomita Chandy and Ashraya decided that they needed to give them some permanent schooling opportunity. So NeelBagh at that time was a very small mud construction school which was started by an Englishman, and he was winding up. So Ashraya bought that small section from him and started the school only for the North Karnataka children as a boarding school. And over the years, they raised donations through various donation fundraising drives and built the extended school that we will see when you go on Friday. And gradually, we also started giving admission to the children in the neighboring villages. So the school grew from just 100 children in the hostel to today's strength of 435 children, 220 girls and 215 boys.
Wow.
Currently, so over the years, the hostel children continue to come only from North Karnataka. Gulbarga, Bellary, Belgaum, Yadgiri are some areas in Karnataka which are very impoverished, very undeveloped even now, and families have to move out of that area to earn a living. So they continue to migrate to Bangalore and other cities to earn a living. So current strength is we have only 60 girls in the hostel right now. The reason for this is that Government of India and Government of Karnataka, they are building a number of schools which are meant for underprivileged children. Some residential schools are coming up all over. So we are trying to encourage the boys to get admission in the schools closer to home. We've had some disciplining and behavioral issues with the senior school boys in the last 2 years. And we felt it is better for them to be with their parents. So we have not taken any new admissions for the boys' hostel. And we have 60 girls in the girls' hostel right now.
Right.
So over the last so many years since school started, which is they started in 1996, we've had about 450 students who have passed out of the school. And in the last 14 years, we've always had first class results from the children passing out of their board exams in class 10. Amazing. And the last 8 years, all the children have scored distinction marks. Amazing. So our school also provides a computer lab, a science lab, and there is another organization, a foundation called Agastya Foundation Science Labs. So they have also built a lab with much more advanced school lab facilities in our school, which our children plus children from the neighboring government schools use the facility. In the school also, we provide a nutritious midday meal to all the 435 children and the staff. This is part of the program because again, nutrition is compromised among many of the children from the rural areas. And so this nutritious meal is cooked on the premises in the school campus.
Incredible.
Our school also, NeelBagh school also has vocational training, which is carpentry for the boys and tailoring for the girls, which is compulsorily taught. And this is a Kannada medium school following the state government SSLC board. And the English is the second language in the school.
Amazing. It's blowing my mind just to hear the kind of accolades and achievements from these kids, despite the circumstances that they come from, and it's always inspiring to hear. I think when you are sort of put against pressure and put against circumstances that are not necessarily abundant, there is a whole different drive that comes out of you, and I suppose that's what you get to observe and see in these kids on a regular basis.
Yes, that is true. See, there are two things here. One is, even today, all the children in our school, their parents are illiterate. So the kids who come to our school continue to be what we call first generation learners.
Wow.
And secondly, we always read about school dropout rate anywhere in the media when it comes to government schools or lack of finances. one of the challenges with government schools is that primary school is in one location, secondary school in another location, and high school in another location. So a lot of the girl students tend to drop out because commuting is a problem, transport is a problem. In our school, once the child joins the lower kindergarten class at 3 years of age, the dropout rate is almost zero. They continue all the way up to class 10. And this has been the pattern over the years since we have started the school. So part of it is because the kids are getting a good foundation. So by the time they come to middle school, the child recognizes that he or she is studying well and has the motivation to continue studying. They're not being forced to study. It's like they're doing well. They can see that they're good. Plus, they see that the class 10 results are good. A lot of the kids are passing out, doing very well. So even if the kids go home, they want to come back to school for the holiday. I mean, for the school after the holidays. So it's a self-motivation that kicks in with the children after a few years that they're in school. Amazing. And our school is, since it's a charitable school, we are not able to take more than 400, and actually the strength should be 400. But because the demand is so high, each class we now have 35, 36 max. When the buildings were built, the capacity for each class was actually 30. And we cannot accommodate more than 35. It's a tight fit in the classrooms. And there is a huge demand in the area for admissions. So it's very hard for us to screen, and no scope to give admissions in between classes. You know, it's like that. Nobody drops out. So there is no scope to give. So the dropout rate is absolutely zero. And we can see that it's partly the parents who believe that, yes, education is doing the kids good. And the kids who say that, you know, I'm studying and I don't want to drop out and I want to study. So that, you know, it's like, we can see that pattern over here. So the bottom line is that if you give them a structured environment and a structured syllabus and systematic teaching, all schools can do well. That's the bottom line actually.
And that's exactly the point I was trying to sort of get in there. I think other schools that struggle with this haven't quite figured out, the magic mix. But you're absolutely right. If you're able to get to a point where the kid themselves is so inspired and so self-motivated to do well, because it's in an environment where they're being encouraged and they're able to see the batch ahead of them has been able to completely change the game for their own life. It changes the trajectory of your own thinking, and I think that's exactly what has really led to a phenomenal success for NeelBagh. And I'm sure everybody who's eagerly awaiting to go on the trip will get the sense and would be able to feel it in the presence of all these kids when they do visit. Maybe Dechu, if you don't mind, I'd love to hear a couple of inspiring stories from these kids that you might have come across that are worth sharing. Any of those that come to mind?
So one of the things is, because see, again, it's a self-motivation thing. Because the children have all done well in their class 10 board exams, they want to continue further. So they all go to college. They finish what we call the intermediate 2 years, 11th and 12th, and 99% I would say have completed college, which is at least a undergrad degree, a BA, a BSc, a Bachelor of Science, a Bachelor of Art, or a Bachelor of Commerce degree. So they've all got a college education. Partly because they want to study, and also the parents have seen the value that yes, they're doing well and we should educate them and get them a degree. Now we have a number of students who are now working, and there are families with 3-4 kids who have been studying in our school who are all employed. There's one North Karnataka family in which the eldest girl has completed her BCom, is working in Raichur in a government hospital in the accounts department. The second has finished a BA and a B.Ed and is working in the police department at Dodbalapur. The third has completed a nursing and working in a private hospital, and the fourth is studying her BSc. There's another family with 3 daughters and a son, again from North Karnataka. The eldest has finished engineering, is working in a private firm. The second has completed BCom, is working in the health department. And the third is finished her Ayush course and working in a private hospital. And the son is studying BE. There are 2 children from a tribe living close to our school who have gone on to finish MSc and engineering, and are at present working in an agriculture-based college and at a global company. So there are many students like this who have transformed their lives and employed, coming back to their villages to rehabilitate their parents by building them a better structured house, paying back their loans. These things are happening. So a lot of them have actually benefited from the education in NeelBagh school.
Beautiful. I mean, it's not even, it's the ripple effect. You start
Yes.
with one, and the generations to come,
Yes.
benefits of that. That's amazing.
And
Um,
definitely, these children who have passed out will definitely educate their own children. There's no
yeah.
doubt about that.
Exactly. And then, just seeing their stories in their own village from other people whose kids are still there will inspire them to try and make that change
Yeah.
for their families. So I think,
Our problem now is that those who have passed out of the school and are earning well also want to put their kids back into NeelBagh school. And it's actually not meant for them because they are earning well. It was meant for because their parents were not earning well.
Yeah.
But now these are earning, but they still want to send them back to NeelBagh school.
Oh,
So
like once you get attached to an institution that's done such remarkable things for you,
yeah,
it's motivating to
unfortunately,
wishes. Yeah.
yeah, we can't take them back. That's the
I can
problem.
understand. I can understand. Actually, that on that point, how does the school get its current support, and what can we do? People who are fascinated by the work that you're doing and would like to be part of the journey, what can we do?
So the first thing that in a one-on-one giving back can be to sponsor a child's education. So
Okay.
here what happens is that we identify a student for the donor, and we send them a profile of the student with a bit of background, etc. And you support the child's education by paying 15,000 rupees for a whole year. Now this support will include the education, the nutrition, and the vocational training. Everything, all the components are included in that. And it also includes the stationery and other things. We will give you reports every year. And if they are in Karnataka and they drive down to school sometime to see the kids, they're welcome to go interact with the children, etc. So this is the one-on-one contribution with an attachment, which is direct by seeing the report, seeing the progress, etc. that they can do. But they can also mobilize donations in the form of stationery, because every year we provide the stationery for all the kids, notebooks and graph books and math books and textbooks. Everything is provided to the kids. So that can be given. Provisions can be donated because we feed all the children every afternoon.
Right.
So it's a nutritious meal that is cooked in the school, and provisions can be given.
Okay.
Clothes can be donated. So we don't have uniforms for the school children because that is an unnecessary cost which we have to incur every year, because children outgrow the clothes.
Right.
And also in a village setting, maintaining the clothes to a crisp and nice uniform setting is very difficult.
Right.
So they all wear colored clothes, and we collect clothes in Bangalore regularly from all the donors, whoever gives us clothes, and distribute it among the school children. So there are apartment complexes with number of families and children. So clothes is welcome. Clothes are welcome for our women's center also, women's clothes, etc. Because very, very often the woman comes just with a plastic bag or a small bag with a few items of clothes because she would have left home in a hurry.
Yeah.
So monetary support, general donations also can be given. Individual sponsorship per child can be given. Contributions for stationery, either by buying the stationery by asking a list from us, or giving the money for stationery specifically. Used clothes can be given, and linen can be donated, bed sheets and blankets, etc., because the hostel is there. So that is useful, and provisions can be donated. We do get funds from corporates, from family trusts, and from individual donors. But depending, for example, during the COVID time, the donations dropped drastically. And a lot of the corporates are very short on funds now because they all had to contribute to various COVID-related programs, government and private. So they used a lot of their CSR funding over the last 3 years during COVID for that. So our CSR contributions have dropped quite a bit in the last 2 years. Okay. And so, it's an up and down. Yeah. Fortunately, we do have a small corpus. So we are able to maintain the same standard of nutrition and salaries and things like that. Yeah. So we've been lucky, touch wood, that we are able to survive because of the small corpus that we have. But it's always better to cover the costs with ongoing donations instead of dipping into the corpus.
Absolutely. No, I think there are lots of our members who are very keen and eager to start participating and contributing in the best way possible, and we will spread the word through the community in trying to find as much as we can to help support this incredible effort of yours. I think the only other thing I'd love to sort of understand before we close on NeelBagh is for where can we donate, number one, and B, if we do want to actively participate in engaging with these children, if we want to contribute in terms of our experience, what can we do? Is that a possibility?
So contribute through experience. We have provisions for volunteers to come and stay in the school.
Mhm.
We have accommodation for them. We have a big double bedroom with an attached Western style bathroom, etc. In the past, before COVID, we used to have a lot of volunteers coming from abroad also. So if there are individuals or couples who'd like to go spend time with the kids and stay in the school, they're welcome to go as volunteers. Their food, boarding, and lodging will be taken care of. They don't have to pay anything for that. That is one way. The other way is to give donations. Ashraya is a non-profit, and under Section 80G, the donors can get 50% exemption on the donations they get. Receipts are issued for every donation that's received with the tax exemption information on it. All donations have to be by check or online transfer. We are not really encouraged these days to take cash. That is being discouraged very strongly by the government also.
Yeah.
And they can sponsor a particular child if they feel they can commit from lower kindergarten till class 10, which is about 12 years. They can start with the lower kindergarten student. Alternatively, they can tell us, okay, I'll take a high school child from class 8. They can see the progress for 3 years. Or they'll say from middle school we'll start. So it's up to them to tell us what class they want to start from, depending on how they see their finances going over a period of time. That would be a good way to do it, because if they drop out in between, it creates a bit of confusion financially for us, as well as assigning that same child to another donor, and it creates a bit of confusion. The sponsorship can be given year by year. So every year they can renew the sponsorship. Everything is done online these days. So email will be sent with the reports, receipts will be scanned and sent, and physical receipts can also be mailed to them. Once a year, an annual report from the organization's activities, etc., is sent to all the donors, and the child's academic report is sent every year to the donor.
Okay.
And they can also donate as other essentials, like I said, stationery, groceries, etc.
Understood. And is that in the NeelBagh premises? So
no, all donations can be sent to the head office in Bangalore, which is in Indira Nagar.
Okay.
Because receipts are issued over there for all donations.
Yeah.
And if you take provisions and all to school, yes, a stock register is maintained over there, and that will be reported back to the head office. But school will not accept any cash donation, because the receipt is giving the receipts all based out of the Bangalore office.
Understood. No, this is absolutely fascinating, Dechu. It's beautiful, it's inspiring, it's so touching, and again, big congratulations to you and the team for putting such a tremendous effort in changing lives and starting the ripple effect that is much needed. And really incredible appreciation for the work that you do, and congratulations for doing such an incredible service. Thanks again for your time, and it's been fascinating. I look forward to going to NeelBagh kids.
Thank you both, Abhinav and Chandani, for taking this initiative. We are really grateful, because I know it's a wide reach that you have, and we are really happy and grateful, Abhinav and Chandani. And I hope, Chandani, you can visit the school. I know Abhinav was totally immersed in the school when you went there.
Absolutely.
So I hope that you will also be able to visit. Thank you all very, very much.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much, and speak to you soon, and we'll share pictures once we're all there.